You need to watch this if you crave chills down your spine. Welcome to Soul Studios. Here, true crime meets the unknown. Suspense lurks in every shadow, and supernatural forces whisper from the dark. We craft chilling, edge-of-your-seat short stories inspired by the eerie, the unexplained, and the most haunting mysteries. 3 new stories drop every week, each one darker than the last. Are you ready to step inside? Subscribe now before the next story finds you.
When a couple hosts their first dinner party in a cozy new home, the evening takes a chilling turn as an uninvited stranger arrives, claiming to be a friend of a friend. Polite yet unsettling, the mysterious guest seems to know intimate details about each person present, secrets none of them have ever shared. As tension builds, the group realizes they're trapped, forced into a sinister game of truth or consequence. With each revelation, friendships unravel, fears surface, and guilt begins to consume them all. But who is this stranger, and how does he know their deepest, darkest secret? Join us for a suspenseful tale of hidden pasts, unspoken truths, and the chilling realization that some guests arrive uninvited and refuse to leave. If you enjoy stories that linger in your mind long after the lights go out, hit subscribe now and turn on notifications. At Soul Studios, every secret has a voice, and tonight it might just whisper yours. We all flinch when the doorbell rings, a sharp chime cutting through the warm laughter in our dining room. It's odd. Everyone we invited to our housewarming dinner is already here, plates filled and wine glasses in hand. Who could be at the door this late? I catch my wife, Rachel, casting me a quizzical look from across the table. My heart skips a beat as I push back my chair, trying to ignore a prickle of unease skittering up my spine. Maybe it's the neighbor, I tell myself, attempting a reassuring smile as I pass our friends. The conversation hushes to a curious murmur behind me. Late-night interruptions aren't unheard of. Perhaps a package delivery or a lost driver. Completely normal. Yet the hairs on my arms stand on end as I approach the foyer, the old hardwood floor creaking under my steps in the sudden silence. I turn the brass knob and ease open the front door. A stranger stands on the porch under the amber glow of our carriage light. He's tall and well-groomed, with a polite smile that doesn't reach his eyes. I don't recognize him. My mind scrambles. Did we meet at work or through a neighbor? "Hello," he says smoothly. His voice is calm, almost friendly, yet an undercurrent in it sets my nerves jangling. "Sorry to drop by unannounced. I'm a friend of Chris. He mentioned you were having a get-together, and since he couldn't make it, I thought I'd stop by in his place." Chris. The name jolts me. Chris is an old college buddy we invited, but he texted earlier that he wasn't coming after all. He never said anything about sending a friend. I hesitate, searching the man's face. Something in his dark, steady eyes makes me feel exposed, as if he's seeing right through me. Behind me, Rachel steps forward, ever the gracious host. "Oh, hi, a friend of Chris? Come in," she says, exchanging a quick, uncertain glance with me. My protest catches in my throat. We don't want to be rude. Besides, if Chris did send him, turning him away would be awkward. I force a smile and usher the man inside. As I close the door, I hear the click of the latch engaging. I check it reflexively. Somehow it locked itself when I shut it. Odd. Maybe my fingers turned the bolt out of habit. The stranger slips off his shoes and shrugs out of his coat, revealing a crisp white dress shirt. "I'm James," he introduces himself, handing me the coat. When my fingers brush his, I nearly flinch. His skin is ice cold despite the mild spring night. James smiles apologetically, but his gaze lingers on me a beat too long. I lead James into the dining room, heart thudding. Around the table, our friends' faces register polite surprise. Clearing my throat, I explain, "This is James. He's a friend of Chris from out of town." It's the best I can do. David, one of my closest friends, raises an eyebrow. Clearly none of us were expecting a stranger. Still, he musters a friendly grin. Chairs scrape as we make room at the table. "Nice to meet you, James," says David's wife, Melissa, kindly. Leo, my former roommate, gives a cordial nod. A ripple of uncertainty passes through our small group. The warm, familiar atmosphere from moments ago now feels strained by the presence of this uninvited guest. Rachel, ever the gracious hostess, sets an extra place for James and offers him some of the roast and vegetables. He sits among us as if he's known us for years. I hover behind my chair for a moment, uneasy, then finally sink back into my seat across from him. The dining room seems a bit dimmer now. Candlelight throws long shadows that flicker against the walls. Even the usual background chatter has died down. In the hush, I can hear the tick of the hall clock and the soft whir of our heater. "Thank you for having me," James says pleasantly, lifting his wine glass in a toast. I don't recall anyone pouring him wine, but there's a full glass in his hand. "Your home is beautiful. It has such character." Rachel smiles, relaxing just a little. "Thank you. We just moved in last month. Still unpacking, really." We lapse into an awkward, polite conversation. James is perfectly courteous and engaging, but I notice he offers almost nothing about himself. Instead, he gently steers the discussion to us, asking questions that strike unnervingly close to home. After a few minutes of small talk, James turns to David with that easy smile. "So, David, how is your little girl doing at St. Mary's Academy? First grade already, right?" David nearly drops his fork. A flicker of confusion and fear passes over his face. His daughter is in first grade at St. Mary's, but he's extremely private about it. I'm certain he never mentioned the school name to Chris, let alone a total stranger. She's doing great," David replies cautiously. "Growing up fast." "Kids do," James says lightly. He swirls the wine in his glass, eyes never leaving David. "Enjoy these years." A cold knot forms in my stomach. David forces a weak smile and lowers his gaze. The rest of us exchange looks. How could James know that detail? James continues to survey the table with keen interest. The candlelight dances in his dark eyes as he studies each of us in turn. I feel like a specimen pinned beneath that gaze. My skin prickles. He makes another casual inquiry, this time complimenting the vintage watch on Leo's wrist, correctly guessing it was a gift from Leo's late father. Leo looks startled. He had only inherited it last month, something even I didn't know until he told me privately earlier tonight. I can't take it anymore. My heart is thumping unevenly. Who is this man, and how does he know so much about us? I clear my throat loudly and push back from the table. "Excuse me a second," I mutter. "I'll get dessert and coffee." Rachel immediately stands. "I'll help," she says, eager for the excuse. We carry the empty serving platter into the kitchen, leaving the others sitting in uneasy silence with James. The moment we're out of earshot, Rachel grabs my arm. Her fingernails dig in anxiously. "What is going on?" she whispers. "Do you know him at all? He's creepy." "I have no idea who he really is," I whisper back. My mind is racing. Chris never said a word about bringing someone. And how on earth does he know those things about David and Leo? It doesn't add up. I peek back toward the dining room. James's low voice is engaged in some conversation I can't make out. Something's seriously off. Rachel swallows, eyes wide. I feel it too. Maybe we should just end the night. Get him out of here. I nod. We'll serve dessert quickly and make up an excuse to wrap up. The decision gives me a small sense of control over the dread creeping in. We return to the dining room with a pie and fresh coffee. Forcing a smile, I announce, "Dessert time. After this, I'm afraid we'll have to call it a night. I have an early start tomorrow." It's a clumsy lie. Tomorrow is Sunday, but I hardly care. As I set the pie down, I catch James watching me intently. In the candlelight, his polite smile looks almost like a smirk. "Leaving so soon?" he asks softly. There's a hint of knowing in his tone that makes my skin crawl. I was just starting to feel at home. No one replies. Leo clears his throat and pushes back his chair. "Actually, yeah, it is getting late," he says, seizing on my cue. He pats his pocket for his car keys. Across the table, David and Melissa exchange relieved glances and start to stand as well. We herd toward the front door together. I'm at the lead, eager to show James out, but when I grasp the door handle and twist, it won't turn. The knob is stuck, as if the deadbolt is still engaged. I frown and tug harder. Nothing. "Here, let me," David says. He steps forward and gives the knob a firm shake. The door refuses to open. "What on earth?" he mutters. My chest tightens. I distinctly remember unlocking it earlier in the evening. I slide the deadbolt latch back and forth. It moves freely, but the door itself won't budge, almost like it's been sealed shut. "Having trouble?" comes James's calm voice from right behind us. I jump. I hadn't heard him approach. He stands uncomfortably close, peering over my shoulder at the door. His eyes flick to mine, curious and utterly unconcerned. "The door's jammed," I say, trying to keep the tremor out of my voice. Rachel edges up next to me, worry creasing her brow. "Jammed? Let me try the key," David says. I reach to the side table where we keep our keys and fumble through the little ceramic bowl. The house key is gone. My pulse kicks even faster. I always toss it in that bowl when we come in. I can't find the key," I stammer. My mouth has gone dry. Leo curses under his breath and checks the door again, ramming his shoulder against it. The solid oak doesn't give an inch. Rachel already has her phone out. "I'll call for help, maybe a locksmith," she says, tapping urgently at the screen. Then she blinks in confusion. "I don't have any signal. None." "What?" Melissa pulls out her phone. I have no service either. One by one, everyone realizes their phones are effectively dead. No bars, no connection to the outside world. A cold wave of panic washes over me. The lights are still on, so it's not a power outage. Why would our cells suddenly all drop out? Behind us, James lets out a soft chuckle. We whirl around. He's standing in the center of the foyer now, hands calmly in his pockets, observing our rising panic with that faint smile. He almost looks amused. My heart is thudding in my ears. This can't be happening. "James," I say slowly, did you do something? What's going on?" He raises his hands in a mock shrug. "Maybe it's a sign," he says lightly. "Looks like you'll all be staying a bit longer." There's an edge underneath his voice now that wasn't there before. Leo's fear flashes into anger. He strides up to James, jabbing a finger at his chest. "This isn't funny, man. Did you mess with the door? Or a cell jammer or something?" In the back of my mind, I dimly register Leo's theory. Could James be some tech-savvy psycho who planned this? James gives Leo an infuriatingly serene look, saying nothing. "I don't know who the hell you are," Leo growls, grabbing a fistful of James's shirt, "but you're going to let us out, now." It happens almost too fast to see. One moment, Leo has a grip on James's collar, and the next he's flying backward, as if yanked by invisible ropes. He slams into the wall with a heavy thud, rattling the framed photos on the foyer wall. A gasp tears out of me. None of us saw James even lift a hand. Leo crumples to the floor, dazed, a livid red mark already blooming on his forehead where he struck the wall. "Oh my God, Leo!" Rachel rushes to his side, kneeling next to him. I stare at James in shock. He stands exactly where he was, calm and poised, adjusting the cuffs of his white shirt as if nothing happened. "I really wish you hadn't done that, Leo," he says, clicking his tongue in disapproval. I don't like being grabbed. A cold certainty sinks into my stomach even as I help Leo sit up. This is not a normal situation. There is no simple explanation for what I just witnessed. James didn't throw Leo, at least not with his hands. My mind reels, struggling to find a rational foothold. There isn't one. Unless he isn't human, a terrified thought whispers. Leo's eyes are wild as Melissa helps him lean against the wall. "What are you?" He manages to sputter, voice shaking. James tilts his head, considering Leo with an almost pitying smile. He doesn't answer that question. Instead, in a voice smooth as silk, he says, "I'm not leaving until we play a little game." A tremor runs through me. "What do you want from us?" I ask, my back pressed against the jammed door. Rachel clutches my arm with trembling fingers. James's smile widens just a fraction. "I only want the truth," he says softly. His gaze sweeps over all of us, corralled there in the foyer. Think of it as a game of truth or consequences. A dreadful silence falls. In the distance, the clock ticks faintly. None of us speak, we only stare in horrified confusion. I feel the blood draining from my face. We don't understand," Melissa says, voice quavering. "What truth?" James's eyes gleam. The gentle, affable tone he's worn all evening is peeling away, revealing something far more ominous beneath. The truth about that night, he purrs. You know what night I mean. The night you all tried so very hard to forget. My heart stops. He can't mean. But I can tell from the way David's face collapses and how Melissa's hand flies to her mouth that we all know exactly what he means. No, this isn't possible. That night, 5 years ago, we never spoke of it again, to anyone. How could this stranger... This is insane, David snaps, but I hear the waver in his voice. You have no idea what you're talking about. I'm not playing whatever this is. We don't have any truth to tell you. He steps forward, chest heaving with adrenaline. Get out of my house. In a blur, David's hands fly to his own throat. He staggers, eyes bulging in panic. A wet, choking noise comes from him as his fingers claw at invisible hands, strangling him. There's nothing there, nothing but empty air, and yet David is lifted to his toes, gagging helplessly. David! Melissa screams. She tries to pull his arms down, but he's suspended by an unseen force. We all rush toward him, frantic. I grab at David, feeling nothing around his neck, but it's like trying to wrestle a ghost. Stop! I shout, turning to James. You're killing him! James watches with a cold, clinical detachment. Lying will get you nowhere, he says, almost a whisper. David's face darkens, his eyes rolling back. Melissa is sobbing, still pawing uselessly at his throat. We're about to watch our friend die right in front of us. Please, I beg. We'll tell you, whatever you want. Just stop. At that, James blinks and releases a breath. David collapses to the floor, wheezing and coughing hard. Melissa wraps her arms around him, tears streaming down her face. James's eyes flash with anger for the first time. No more lies, he says, voice low. If anyone else feels like hiding the truth, remember, I don't need to lay a finger on you to make you hurt. A heavy, terrified silence hangs in the foyer. David gulps air in ragged sobs, and I help him upright, guiding him and Melissa back toward the dining room. We are utterly at this monster's mercy. James gestures calmly toward the dining table. Let's all sit down, he suggests, as if we're merely resuming dinner. There's a subtle force in his words we don't dare resist. Shaking and wide-eyed, we obey, filing back into the dining room and sinking into our chairs like prisoners awaiting sentencing. James remains standing at the head of the table now, looming over us. The candle flames quiver, casting his shadow tall against the wall. Very good, he says softly. Now, let's start with the truth about the night of June 12th, 5 years ago. His eyes lock onto Melissa. You go first. Melissa trembles, fresh tears spilling. She looks at each of us as if seeking an escape, but there's none. Her shoulders slump. It was 5 years ago. That summer after we graduated college, she begins haltingly, voice barely above a whisper. We all spent the weekend at Lakeview Cabin. On the drive back, that last night. Her chin drops to her chest. I can see her reliving it. My own heart is pounding out of my ribs. I feel sweat trickling down my back. We were drinking, Melissa continues miserably. Messing around. I told everyone to take the back road, Old Mill Road, to save time. I said it'd be fun to drive through the woods at night. She lets out a broken sob. If we'd stayed on the highway, maybe it wouldn't have happened. But I put us on that road. James nods slowly. You did, and then? Melissa presses her hands over her face. We were laughing, she says through her fingers. Leo was teasing me, and I had the music up loud. No one saw him walking along the roadside until it was too late. She breaks into a wail. David wraps an arm around her shaking shoulders, and she buries her face against him. The sickening memory washes over me in full now. The dark country road, my headlights suddenly illuminating a figure in the lane, the shriek of tires, that horrendous thud as we hit a human body. My vision blurs. I grip the table to steady myself. James's gaze moves to Rachel, who sits rigidly beside me, tears shining in her eyes. Rachel, he says gently, almost in a coo, what happened next? Tell me. Rachel looks at me, her lip quivering. She takes a shuddering breath. We hit a man, she whispers. He came out of nowhere onto the road and we couldn't stop in time. Her voice cracks and then comes out in a sobbing rush. There was so much blood. I squeeze my eyes shut. The image of the man's broken body sprawled on the asphalt is seared into my brain. He was still alive, Rachel continues, her voice a whimper. He was hurt so badly, but he was alive. I remember his eyes. He looked at us. He was trying to speak. She lets out a moan of guilt and covers her mouth. We should have helped him. We should have called an ambulance right away. But you didn't, James interjects, the gentleness gone from his voice. Rachel flinches as if struck. No, she whispers. No, we panicked. We were drunk and scared. Instead of helping, we ran, David says, finishing for her. He lifts his head, eyes red and haunted. We left him there, got in the car and G-gunned it. He wipes his nose with the back of his hand, utterly ashamed. We left him to die on that road. A terrible, bitter chuckle escapes James's lips. He presses his palms flat on the table and leans forward, looking each of us in the eye. You left me to die. His words land like a knife in the heart. In the flickering candlelight, something shifts in James's face, rage boiling just beneath the smooth exterior. My breath catches. You left me to die. He said me. Before any of us can respond, the overhead lights flicker and then blink out, plunging the room into darkness. The candles gutter and die as well, snuffed out as if by a sudden wind. I can't see a thing. James? I stammer into the blackness. There's no answer, only a sound that starts as a low hiss and rises to a voice layered with anguish and fury, echoing from every corner of the room. Do you know what it felt like? A chill colder than ice water pours over me. In the dark, I hear Melissa stifling a scream, Leo muttering a prayer. Rachel's hand finds mine in a crushing grip. The voice surrounds us, fills us, lying there broken on the asphalt, choking on my own blood, watching your taillights fade into the night. Do you know what that felt like? I clamp my hands over my ears, my eyes wet with tears I can't hold back. I'm sorry, I sob into the void. I'm so sorry. The voice that is James and not James snarls through the blackness. Now it's your turn to feel it. Suddenly, the entire house seems to shudder. Dishes rattle violently on the table. The floor beneath our feet trembles. A burst of hot air whooshes through the dining room, blowing papers and napkins into a whirl. I hear glass shatter in the kitchen and the guttural pop of every remaining light bulb in the house exploding at once. We scream. There's nothing else to do, as an unseen force presses on us from all sides, a howling wind full of fury and pain. Then, as abruptly as it began, it stops. The silence that falls is so deep I can hear my own thunderous heartbeat. In that silence, a single gentle click sounds from the foyer, the front door unlocking itself. A dim orange glow blooms in the hallway. It takes me a moment to realize the lights are back on. The bulbs replaced? No, it's the candles reigniting on the table. One by one, their tiny flames steady and golden. The power is still off. The only light comes from those flickering candles. My chest heaving, I blink through the tears. James is gone. The head of the table is empty, the space where he stood now vacant. For a long moment, none of us moves or speaks. We're still hunched at the table, bracing ourselves against an assault that has ended. Leo is the first to stir. Clutching his bruised forehead, he staggers to his feet and edges toward the foyer. The door, he croaks. We all scramble up and follow him. The front door stands wide open. Beyond the threshold, the night is quiet and still. The oppressive, trapped feeling that hung in the air all evening has lifted. He's gone, Melissa whispers, her voice raw. I step forward and cautiously peer out into the front yard, half expecting to see James's tall figure lurking in the shadows. But there's nothing, just the empty street and the chirp of crickets in the warm summer dark. A faint breeze rustles the trees. Rachel lets out a sob that is equal parts relief and despair. I realize I'm shaking from head to toe. He's gone. God, he's really gone. David sinks down on the doorstep, burying his face in his hands. That was him, he chokes out between uneven breaths. The man He can't finish the sentence. None of us needs him to. We know. James, or whatever it was that called itself James, was the man we left to die. Somehow, impossibly, he came back and confronted us with what we did. Melissa wipes her tear-streaked face and speaks up in a small voice. His name was James Archer. We all turn to her. She looks at David. You said you found an obituary? David nods, eyes distant. I looked him up after it happened, he admits softly. I had to know. His name was James Archer. He was 28. He'd just moved to the area for a new job. David's face crumples as guilt overwhelms him. He had a wife and a little boy, a 4-year-old son waiting for him at home that night. A horrible keening sound escapes from Rachel's throat. She leans into me, sobbing, and I hold her tight. I have no words, only a yawning pit of remorse in my soul. A father and husband, lost because of us. For a long moment, we huddle in the doorway. 5 broken people haunted by what we've done. The night air is cool against my flushed face. In the east, the first hint of dawn is lightening the sky. Leo breaks the silence, voice trembling. What do we do now? I lift my head. My eyes drift to the road beyond our driveway, the very road that will lead us into town, to the police station. I draw in a shaky breath that somehow feels like the first real breath I've taken in 5 years. We face the consequences, I say. The words come out quietly, but with resolve. We tell the truth. No more hiding. One by one, my friends nod. It's clear from their faces that they've each come to the same conclusion. The secret we buried has risen from its grave, and there is only one way to put it to rest for good. Together, we step over the threshold, out into the pale early light of morning. The door swings shut softly behind us, and I hear the lock click, a gentle, almost purposeful sound. I pause and glance back at the house one last time. For an instant, I think I see a tall silhouette just inside the foyer, watching us leave. But when I blink, the space is empty. With a heavy yet determined heart, I turn and join my friends. We walk down the driveway, battered and frightened, but united by our decision. Whatever happens next, arrests, trials, punishment, we will meet it head on. It's what we should have done 5 years ago. As we head toward town, the first rays of sunrise break over the trees, and I swear I feel a presence behind us dissolve with the dark. The past no longer has us tethered in its terrible grip. We're finally free. We finally stepped into the dawn, knowing the truth we'd buried could no longer haunt us in shadows. But even as sunlight warmed our faces, a cold whisper lingered, reminding us that guilt never truly leaves, it merely waits. Sometimes the ghosts we fear most aren't the dead, but the secrets we bury within ourselves. Some truths never stay buried.
Every story has an end, but here, the mysteries never stop. Thank you for watching and being a part of this journey into the unknown. Your support keeps these stories alive, and there's plenty more waiting for you. We drop 3 new stories every week, so if you crave suspense, the unexplained, and the downright chilling, make sure you're subscribed and ready for what's next. Until then, keep your lights on, your doors locked, and remember, some stories stay with you long after they're told.